what would you tell the church? What message do you want them to hear so that we can do better for you?
We've kind of already mentioned both of the main things for me, though. Being authentic, being transparent, sharing the good, the bad, the ugly, because to us, we want to feel related to, we don't want to feel isolated in that, because so many things already isolate us. And also just being relational and intentional. I think those are the best ways.
Obviously, if someone from our generation goes to an older church, they're not going to be able to relate to the message. So how are you going to bring in new people if you're just relating it to the same group of people every single time?
I think something that's super lacking that I've just witnessed with the different generations, a part of different church groups, not necessarily the Orchard, the lack of hating the sin and loving the sinner in so many different circumstances.
All right, well, welcome in to Let's Talk About That. We have a special episode for you today. Here a while back, we sat down with 5 of our students, ranging from juniors to just graduated high school, and had a conversation with them while we were at Camp Anderson Anchored for our Bold Student Weekend. And this conversation was fantastic. It ranged a wide variety of topics. It took a little while. We might have been recording it till about midnight at Bold, but I think it was very insightful to understand how some of these students see faith, how their generation sees the church, and what we can learn from them. I think one of the fascinating things that I learned from talking to the students is just how aware they are of what faith in a digital world looks like. I'm 40 years old. I use a lot of technology, but I didn't grow up with it. I didn't have an iPhone or Facebook until after I was married, and so it's still new-ish to me. These kids were raised in that generation, and they're aware of how the social media that they consume, the technology they deal with, is shaping them. And that was inspiring to me to realize, hey, we want to say the next generation is having their brain rotted by all of this, but man, no, they are the ones that are shaping the technology, and they're going to be shaping the future of the church as well. So Pastor Nettie and I sat down with them and had a good conversation. If you missed last week's episode, you missed part 1 of that conversation, and I want to encourage you to go back and check that out. But if you checked out part 1, I hope you enjoyed part 2 as we jump back into this conversation with our students. Give me some examples of that. Where have you seen the church take cherry-pick scripture, so to speak? The way I've said it's we treat scripture kind of like it's a buffet. Like you show up at the buffet and you're like, oh, fried chicken, yes, mac and cheese, yes, lima beans for me, yes, for a lot of people, no, so I think that's kind of what happens a lot of times. We look at pieces of scripture and yep, oh no, I don't really care for that one. What are some examples of that?
So I think Chip, you mentioned one tonight. You mentioned tonight something, I forget how you referred to it tonight in your message, but you talk about the scriptures that don't make Hobby Lobby's plaques and framed up, and I think you mentioned bumper stickers tonight.
Yeah, bumper sticker, I don't know. I think there's a countercultural movement. There's some bumper stickers that are kind of making waves, so it's not like my child's an honor roll student. I've seen bumper stickers that say my child could beat up your honor roll student, so that's encouraging. I've seen some Hobby Lobby signs that are a little bit different, but I mean, honestly, I do think that there are scriptures that we don't give the importance that they're due. So, for instance, one of the issues I see us ignoring in the American church is that we don't like to talk about materialism a whole lot. And when Jesus literally said, if you see somebody in need, take your cloak and give it to them, that's just not something that we think about in the American church. As a matter of fact, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, J.D. Vance, our vice president, was talking about, America First policy, and some asking, well, how does that line up with your Christian beliefs that you love everybody? And J.D. Vance said something in essence of, well, I believe Scripture teaches clearly that you are to take care of your own household first, and then to kind of spread out from there. And I had a friend ask me, he's like, so did you see that? What did you think about that? Was he accurate? Right. Which one I appreciated. Hey, I'm not just looking at a viral clip and thinking, okay, this must be accurate. I'm following up. Is this accurate? And I think he was. I think the Bible teaches that, you start looking and caring for those under your direct care and in your household first. The Pastor Eddie and I were talking about this and said, but I think it's very nuanced, right? Because what does that even look like? In America, does taking care of your household mean that you have to get your 16-year-old daughter an Escalade when she, turns 16? And, well, I got to do that.
They're all shaking their heads. Yes,
yes, you do. Does it mean that taking care of my family means that I have to take multiple vacations during a year and now I can't afford to help those in need? And so I think that's kind of where it's nuanced. What we see as necessities in America, I think are not necessities, it's excess. And I think that we've kind of ignored those places of scripture that have a lot more minimalist mentality to them.
I think back to the question that you're asking about, back to the question where you're talking about like how the church or the older people in the church as a whole.
Say generations, not people. It makes us feel better. Makes us feel older people. We feel attacked.
Okay, well, maybe I'm not including you two. Maybe I mean older than you. Anyways, I think something that just lacks
called them old indirectly.
Well,
we picked up on that, Tolby. Yeah.
Look, we're the only two at this table yawning right now. So.
Exactly.
No,
I
Taylor's
was just
over here
thinking
yawning
this is a
too.
minor miracle just that this is happening right now. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Haley.
Well, y'all just got me all off track. Okay. Well, I think something that's super lacking, like that I've just witnessed, like with the different generations, a part of like different church groups, not necessarily the Orchard, the lack of hating the sin and loving the sinner, like in so many different circumstances. It's always against these people, against these people, against these people. It's never for these people, against the lies that they have filling their life, or against the things that they're doing that are wrong, So I just think that's something that I've witnessed.
So let me ask this question to kind of build off of that. Do you think that in your generation, people would say that the church is known more for love or hate?
Hate from our generation.
Hate.
Why?
Well, back to what I was talking about, the hypocrisy or the hypocrites in church.
Okay.
So
what do you think?
Hate, but I don't mean to get super personal, but when we were talking about providing for your family and stuff like that, sin versus sinner, person versus their sin. I've got two grandpas, and one of my grandpas is a farmer and a provider, and my other one is a preacher. And I always thought that my preacher grandpa was the most spiritual man ever. I thought that everything he said was truth and that he was closest to God, as close as you can get. And recently, my other grandpa passed away, my farmer grandpa. And yesterday was his funeral, and my other grandpa gave the sermon. And he said that he was a provider, and he talked about his love. And I realized that he came from a family that didn't talk about, didn't say I love you, didn't say that type of stuff. Before he passed away, he got a chance to sit down with all of us and say that he loved us. But I've been thinking about it, he was God in my life. He showed me Jesus in everything that he did. Yeah. He provided for my mom, who provided for me, but he's I had at the funeral yesterday, he was in the volunteer firefighter department for years, 40 years or something. And two guys who don't even know me, I was just sitting alone, and they came over to me and they introduced themselves. They said that they worked with him for years, and they talked about how one of them said that he was 30 when he met him, and he thought he was a man, and he realized that he wasn't a man until he met him. And I thought, that's crazy. This guy's my grandpa. And I got to grow up around him, and he was stern on me. And I always looked at it as he's just being hard on me to change me into, a farmer or whatever. And I realized that that's his form of love. And after hearing that he loved me and that he was proud of me and stuff like that, I realized that love today doesn't have to be just in the church. The love that he showed me, now I'm seeing it as Jesus, but it's the life that he gave me. He's one of the reasons. Of course, I have my other grandparents, but he's the reason that my mother was born. he's also the reason that we still have a family and a house. And he's the reason that all these things happen. And I don't want to get too personal, but I mean, a firefighter for years and did all these other things. And I've never really looked at him as like super spiritual guy, but I can say that it was a feeling of nurture that I got from him that was unlike I had ever received from anyone ever before. And that feeling of nurture, I can say now, was the love of Jesus, whether I knew it or whether he even knew it.
Yeah, I think that, like you say, impact matters. Mm-hmm. And all right, so I think impact is not just words. It can be actions, right? You had one grandpa who, impacted you through his words, one through his actions. So let's maybe talk about that for just a second. Where do you see the church making the biggest impact in your generation? What is the church doing that's having the biggest impact?
I feel like the church has the biggest impact on my generation whenever it actually goes out into the community and connects with my generation. Not like, I guess, in their language. Like, instead of just like Sunday mornings, I guess it would be like when we did Impact Sunday, I really saw, people's lives impacted, people I've never seen before, that I had a chance to just say, hey, good morning, or like, how are you doing? There's some food.
Talk about what that impact, that service, that Sunday was.
Not everybody may know what that is.
Yeah. So Impact Sunday was a Sunday morning where instead of having church service, we went out into the community, and there were people who fixed homes that were impacted by the hurricane, a lot of work like that. And then we also had a block party where we got to serve people by setting up bounce houses for their children, just fun for the kids, food for the families, things like that, you see people that you don't see every Sunday morning. You see people that may have never even heard about Jesus. There's worship music going on, and it's just like a way to plant the seed without having to convince someone to come on a Sunday morning. And I feel like that's a big impact because you get
hard for people to come on Sunday morning sometimes.
I feel like a lot of people are just reluctant to come to church, kind of like I was saying earlier, like a hard heart, like they may have been hurt by the church, like some others said. Yeah. Just, it's harder to get people to church than it is to tell them that you have a free hot dog over here for them.
That's true. We're all suckers for a free hot dog, right? Like, I'm here for that. Which, by the way, I didn't get to say, but the hypocrite thing. So if anybody ever tells you, I don't want to go to church, it's full of hypocrites, my go-to response is, no, we're not full. We got a couple seats. You could join us.
They're so mean. No, that's actually good. I wouldn't cry. I would actually cry if somebody told me that.
No, you wouldn't. All right, Ethan, what do you got? Where do you see the church having the biggest impact in your generation?
Okay, if it's good with you guys, I want to talk specifically about Pastor Eddie.
No, sorry, we can't. I'm just kidding. Talk about Pastor
For
Eddie.
Me personally, especially because I'm a lot newer in my faith, I think way newer than any of the other people who are here. Pastor Eddie helped me so much because if I had gone to any other church, I don't think it would have clicked as easily as it did. Pastor Eddie really helped me to just understand the messages and take them with me instead of just sitting in church and waiting for it to get over and just wanting to leave the entire time. Instead, I'm actually excited to go, and I want to hear what he has to say and how I can use it in my life. And especially with our youth group, too, that he runs, because that's even more so aimed at our generation to try and, like, make it relevant to our lives and how we can use it instead of just, yeah.
No, that's good. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna get like really transparent for a minute, and I'm gonna let you guys in on a conversation that Pastor Eddie and I've had for a few years because I want to hear from you about this. So Pastor Eddie has talked to me for a while now about being concerned that he's getting too old to be effective in ministry, much with young families, much less in student ministry. Can you confirm that one?
I can confirm that.
All right. So how do you guys respond to that?
I think our generation is very much so like relational. Like we feed off of any relationships that we can have, but also just because of like the world we live in now, a bunch of relationships are broken, So you kind of just offer up like, I don't know how to explain it. I might be stealing Chip's words from another podcast when I say this, but I thought of it first. like he kind of offers up like the grandpa role for people who don't have that, and he offers up like so many different positions. Like I know for my fiance, like he was a big part. They met like on Tuesday mornings over and over and over again, and it wasn't that he doesn't have a dad and a grandpa who do pour into him, but it's just that third outside perspective that he doesn't hear every single day that mattered just because. And old people are wise, you know.
I was gonna say.
Well,
older people.
How many times is that she's called him old?
I love Hey, I actually throw up when I talk to old people, but I like talking to older. You're a good older person.
Well,
Jaeli, what do you think? See, what do you think? Is Pastor Eddie too old to be effective?
I'm not gonna lie, I miss you in Live Oak. Not a punch at Matthew. I love Matthew, but
You saved that when you were like, I'm not gonna lie. Everybody's like, oh my gosh, what is she about to say?
no, I'm not gonna lie, I really do miss you in the Live Oak location. I was very sad to see you go. I grew up going to church with my grandma. That's who I lived with because my mom had me at a young age, and that's when I first started going to church.
Yeah.
And I kind of like fell out after my my grandma passed away, so I stopped going to church. And then I think it was 7th grade or 8th grade, my aunt started going to the Orchard, and she had been like nagging at me, come on, just get one shot.
I don't believe she would ever do that, Kaly.
So I finally gave it like a go, and Pastor Eddie, like what Ethan said, you like really like touched me. Like I really felt everything you were saying, and I think you broke it down very well. And it was very understanding to me, so I don't really think older age has anything to do with that.
Job with the earth.
So,
Go ahead.
you good?
No, go Ryland.
I was just going to say, Pastor Eddie has always been like a constant in my life. I think that's what I would say, that he hasn't like, I've never thought like, oh, he's getting too old for this. Like, because whenever I first remember going to church, I was like really, really young, like 2, 3, 4 at the Lake City Orchard at the skating rink, and Pastor Eddie was my preacher. And then we started going to Live Oak, and Pastor Eddie was the preacher. And then we started going to Bradford, and Pastor Eddie was the preacher.
Maybe he's just following you, Ryland. I don't know.
I would follow Ryland for sure.
I think I had a really random thought when Kaly was talking. I was listening to you, I promise. But I think a lot of people in our generation, like, they don't have grandparents who are Christians. So, like, because, I mean, personally, I have some who are, obviously. But a lot of my grandparents, there's like 12 of them. It's crazy, actually. Long story. I'm not explaining it.
Big family. Go ahead.
Big family. Anyways, but a lot of them aren't Christians. So in my mind, it's just like, oh, it's this new thing. Like for a while there, I had doubts because I was like, well, this wasn't big for them. Like, why should it be big for me or whatever? So seeing older people in the church who really are just like so devoted to sharing it with me and sharing it with the younger people, it's just like, okay, if it means that much to them and they're how old? That sounds bad again, sorry. But if they are older, they've been through a lot, and it just matters so much to them that I knew about it.
Well, let me be sure and clarify, because I have nothing. I mean, when Chip and I have these conversations, it's not that I don't enjoy being with students. I mean, I love you guys, y'all know that, and I love hanging out with you guys, and you know, like tonight, service was just incredible for me, and so it's just that, you know, sometimes I wonder, that's why I ask you, Kaly, about that connection, about how do we speak the language, you know, because sometimes my language, another thing with generation gap, right? Languages, y'all use words way different than what I used, you know, they mean different things. And so.
And can I just jump in and tell a story that's...
You're going to anyway. I might as well say sure.
Embarrass you a little bit, but these guys will love it.
Okay.
They love you, so that's what we're going to share. So we were at the skating rink one time, and...
Oh, no. You got to tell that one.
I tried to help Pastor Eddie stay as relevant as possible, but I've been an old man for a long time, so I'm not relevant.
Not as long as he has. You can't come back.
I would.
No, it's real.
6
I'm
times.
not meaning it in a mean way.
It's actually 8 times now.
I was the guy in the door and tell people to shut up and go to bed. It was midnight. I was tired. But so we were in there, and the problem is Pastor Eddie didn't know the difference between butt dial and booty call.
Oh my gosh. Oh no.
I think
Thanks a lot, Chip.
Pastor Eddie
Oh my God.
kept talking about how
Booty call someone.
no, he kept talking about how our executive pastor Michael kept booty calling him.
There's no way.
Up on the front row. It's butt dial. It's butt.
You said this on stage?
I might have, Haley. I think Chip is embellishing it a little bit. Preachers
So we
can
don't need
do
to cut
that.
this because people have already heard it.
It can stay. It can stay.
No, I'm asking Chris to edit this part.
Well,
I'm
Chris,
sure he
I'll
will.
pay you not to.
Oh man.
100.
You can have my Oreos.
That's hilarious.
That's a crazy offer.
So, what if Pastor Eddie rolls up at church Sunday with like some Jordans, skinny jeans?
No.
Skinny.
No.
Whip.
That's not
With
comforting.
Yes.
Lucas one.
Anything there like those.
Yeah, dressed like Lucas, right?
That's
All right.
Please.
All right, hold on. All right. So here's the thing. Here's what. So you guys are like, that's funny, that's cringe, whatever. Why?
cringe. Because it's not comforting.
Leanne introduced me to what the word "that's ick" means, so I could have went, that was ick, but
We didn't. No, stop.
she teaches high school. She keeps me hip to the lingo.
Oh, I think that Pastor Eddie is a comforting person,
But so
and that takes away from the comforting because it's weird.
What's the difference then? Like, so he's what would be the difference? Because the truth is, what I love about Pastor Eddie is I know other guys who are his same age or even younger who do exactly what I just described, thinking that's what's going to make them relevant with the next generation.
I think
Say that again.
We like people to be real.
Yeah, real, like genuineness.
I said it first, Tolby.
Okay, that's what I was gonna say. I was calling the microphone over. I didn't say whoosh, but
Oh, wait, hold on.
I said authentic.
He's smarter than
You did. That's a better word than real.
if Pastor Eddie changed all his clothes and changed his whole style and
Pastor Eddie.
said the same thing, or like, yeah, if he changed his style, he wouldn't be Pastor Eddie. But if he changed his clothes, it wouldn't be. I don't think there's anything that can like take away from the feeling of like nurture or the feeling of love or care, because you're still Pastor Eddie no matter what.
So tell me if this is right, because I've said this in my conversation with Chip. I said I think one of the reasons, and Kaylee, I think what you said was good, because I think, and I've told my wife this, I said I think one of the reasons I can still connect with the students is because I'm not trying to be something I'm not. I tell them up front how old I am, right? I mean, that's why I don't mind telling you when I was born, I mean.
In the 1900s.
Yeah, I mean.
Whoa, wait,
Yeah.
just kidding.
But my point is, I think that your generation responds to that because you, like you say, some of you have mentioned a grandfatherly effect, and I think, and I'm okay with that. I mean, I'm all right with that. I have grandchildren, right? And so I'm not ashamed of that. And I think the being real is something important to your generation. Am I right? I mean, I think the point that Chip's making is that we've discussed before is, yeah, don't try to be somebody I'm not. I'm not going to be like Lucas, or Matt or AJ or whatever, I'm just not.
Wait a minute. You're listening to the young guys of the church and I don't get shouted out?
I was getting there. I was.
But hey, look, y'all know what I'm about to say. I'm here for a good time. It ain't got to be a long time. I'm fine with it. Let's go. So let me ask you this. What is it that you wish you could say to the church today to help them move in a direction that would be more impactful for your generation in the future? Like, because you're on a podcast, dozens of listeners. There's more than that. Jared, you can laugh. They're like, okay, dozens, it's not great. What would you tell the church? What message do you want them to hear so that we can do better for you?
I think we've kind of already mentioned both of the main things for me, though. It's like being authentic, being transparent, just like sharing the good, the bad, the ugly, because to us, we want to feel related to, we don't want to feel isolated in that, because so many things already isolate us. And also just being relational and intentional. I think those are the best ways.
That's good. What else?
I think not necessarily for all churches, but a lot of the older churches is be more flexible and adaptable.
Yeah.
Because a lot of older churches have trouble and they refuse to adapt to the new generation.
So what areas do you think churches should be more adaptable?
In their messages, not necessarily the core of them, but the way that they relate them. Yeah. Because obviously, if someone from our generation goes to an older church, they're not going to be able to relate to the message. So how are you going to bring in new people if you're just relating it to the same group of people every single time?
Man, that's really good. And if you are listening to this and you are serving in another church, I want you to notice he didn't say anything about the lights or the music or anything like that. Because the truth is...
Do you like it, though?
Well, you like it, but do you...
But it doesn't matter.
All right, look at me. Do you come to church because we have the best music or because of something else?
No, it makes the most sense. Honestly, it's the church that I attend. Shout out Lake City. But it just gets broken down to where somebody who's walking in for the first Sunday can understand it, but it's also like deep enough to where somebody who's been coming to church for 50 plus years, they can also get something out of it. Yeah. So it's for a wide range of people.
Yeah, I just think my point there is that a lot of churches would think, oh, we don't have the right music to reach young people. You can listen to whatever music you want to on the radio, and it's going to be better than any church you can drive to. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's being able to connect with what's being talked about. And like, yeah, that makes sense. That's really good, Ethan. What you got, Tolby?
I was going to say pretty much what Haley said. If there was something I could tell to like all the other churches, it would be two things. The first thing would be rethink. Not that they're doing anything wrong, but make sure what you're doing is make it so that people can't call you a hypocrite, even though they probably will, and even though you probably are. Try and make it so that just you're not. Well, you're gonna sin, but make sure you're not like putting that out there. But also, the second thing, probably the more important thing, I would say to any other church is come spend a Sunday at the Orchard, because the Orchard is like an country church, an old.
But we're all here because of the Orchard. Yeah. Just saying, we're pretty young, we're pretty hip and cool. They reached us.
She said hip. Why is it not bad when she says hip?
Because honestly, I feel like the Orchard is like the new generation like church. Like you're not okay. Well, this is just me. I don't wear a dress to church every Sunday morning.
Me neither.
Most churches are like, you have to wear a dress. You have to wear a suit and tie. Like you can come wearing jeans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that is important. And I think for me, that goes back to what you're talking about like being real and like how Pastor Eddie would be, different if he came in, with his Jordans and ripped jeans or whatever. But like Pastor Eddie is going to be like Pastor Eddie wherever you see him. I'm wearing a T-shirt tonight because it's bold and it's a bold T-shirt. 9 times out of 10, you're going to see me with a short sleeve Columbia shirt or a polo. Right?
I was going to say a polo.
That's because that's who I am, but that's how we come to church too. You know what I mean? Like it's just like that. So I think that's really good.
I think also we're accessible. Like you don't have to be able to go out, buy a dress. You don't have to be able to go do all these different things to get ready to come to church. Not because that's how God wants you to come to church, but because that's how others should come to church.
All right, Ryland, you're not dodging this one. What would you say to the church?
I would say to just have a connection with the young people. Like they were all saying, being relatable, being authentic. But I really feel like something we do well at the Orchard is like whenever you go into the lobby before church, there are people from the church coming up talking to you, just having a regular conversation. Yeah, it's a community, really. And like you don't feel like your preacher's up on a pedestal, like talking at you, but you really feel like he's part of your community, like someone you could go talk to. It's just that connection that I think the young people really desire that we do well here.
That's good. Are we going to start doing that at our communicators meetings, Eddie?
I don't know. Maybe.
I like it.
I like it.
I like it. Man, I think this is good. I think it's good for our generation to hear what your generation has to say because, like I said, in our service tonight at Bold, you guys aren't just like the church of tomorrow. Like you're a part of the church today. And I really do think that you guys have the chance to take the church to a level that my generation didn't, because my generation's kind of straddled between two worlds, like I was 1 foot in one foot in the other. But you guys are natives in this new digital world, right? You grew up in it, you know how to use it, you know how, look, any idiot can have a platform. Let me rearrange my algorithm so that I'm not listening to that idiot. I think the one thing that I would say to you and your generation is make sure that you know how to discern what is true from what is not. Because when you're in a world where you get so much information, you can't just lean on what you want to be true. You've got to be able to find out, how do you determine what is true? And I think that's difficult. Pastor Eddie, any closing thoughts for them, their generation? Why do you think this is helpful? What maybe word you would leave for them?
Well, I tell you what's on my mind, and I don't know if this is what you had in mind, but I just want to say you guys are such an encouragement to me, because, you give me the chance to see kind of a fulfillment of vision, because
take a minute and talk about that. We got a few more minutes to talk about that.
Well, I think the thing, what I mean by that is, this kind of conversation is what drove, what led us to really believe that the Lord was asking us or leading us to start a new church. Because my concern was we were losing your generation. I would see your generation while they're in high school, and they would leave and it would never come back, and I'm like, what do we do? How are we missing these younger generations? And so God just began to turn our heart toward younger generation, the younger people. And, I always thought that if I could just impact, to use the word we use a lot here, if I could just impact 5 lives, 5 young men, 6 young men, that I could impact their life in such a way that they would follow Jesus, become strong, good husbands and godly fathers. If I could just impact a few young ladies, with their lives, so that they could follow Jesus fully and become great mothers and great people, and if I could just a few, and it was young people like you that I wanted to have an impact on. And so I think just listening to your stories tonight and your comments tonight are just blowing me away, honestly, because I get to see that fulfillment. And tonight in the worship, when we had so many students in there, I don't know how many, but there was a bunch, and they're worshiping Jesus, and everybody's excited, and I see it in your faces, and I see your love for Jesus at different levels and different stages in your walk. I mean, Kaly, I remember when you first came in there, right? And I've watched you grow, and I've watched each of you, and Ethan, the first time you came, and I just want to say, I think that this is what I think God called us here for. So to see you guys actually doing it and to hear your thoughts, and we haven't trained you. I mean, we haven't provoked you to those thoughts. Those are your thoughts.
I want to be very clear. Some of those were completely their thoughts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I just want to say thank you. And I want to say, too, to our listeners that these guys prove, Chip, that our younger generation, if we'll point them to Jesus, they're passionate about Jesus.
Yeah, that's right.
They may do church different, and they may want to do church different than some people. I mean, you don't want to do church like all of my generation would or others, but you're passionate about Jesus and you're passionate about following him. And I would just say to our listeners, man, get involved in the lives of some students when you have an opportunity, because it is such a blessing just watching you and listening to you. And thank you for keeping me up so late to do this.
Yeah, to be clear, looking at the watch now, oh, wow, 1% battery. It is 11:47, and this is the latest I've stayed up in a month. No, that's a lie. I stayed up the other day.
For older
people.
folks.
The old folks.
Yeah.
How y'all?
That's 9. At 5 in the morning when we're making coffee.
Oh, the sass in his hand. I wish y'all could see it. Anyways, but what I want to say to Pastor Eddie, I want to say something. So, pipe down, Chippy.
Haley was fired up the other day that people were stealing the phrase Chippy now that she introduced it so much.
I've called him Chippy literally when I was 8. Oh, I can't tell the story. But since I was like 8 years old. But anyways, but what I wanted to say, Pastor Eddie, was just like, he was talking about how he can see that vision being fulfilled and everything. And I mean, I personally see that vision being fulfilled because when I was 6 years old and I came to the Orchard, I don't think my mom, who had just recently been coming out of a divorce, and my stepdad, who is now adopted me, like recently coming out of a divorce, I don't see them ever stepping into any other church and feeling welcomed other than the Orchard. And because of that welcoming environment, like, I got poured into by the Orchard, and like, I've found a saving relationship with Christ because of that. You know what I mean?
That's great, Haley. Thank you. And you know, the one final thought, and you and I talked about this, Chip. Part of that vision too was seeing in the crowd tonight some of our leaders. And guess what? Some of our leaders are only about 2, 3, 4, 5 years removed from you, right?
Or one like Kaly.
Yeah, like Kaly. But yeah, who were in your same place in high school, following Jesus, learning to follow Jesus, and now they are leaders in this camp, small group leaders in this camp, other leaders in this camp, and they're helping you guys. And so they are not only following Jesus, but teaching other people to follow Jesus.
Well, I like it. It's been fun. We have to get up early again tomorrow morning.
I actually want to keep doing this. It's kind of fun to me.
I like it. Can we come on like every other week? Like the five of us?
Couple of weeks.
Oh, couple. I was
Like once.
Wait, can we have our own? Can we? No, but can we have our own?
But just us.
Yeah, nobody else.
Add the students.
Like the main characters.
All right,
The Orchard can make a student podcast.
look at what if I let you guys have your own podcast?
We're good.
I'm on board.
I have so much to talk about.
I've got an office, and we've got a producer.
We can call it so much to talk about because we're yappers.
Did you just hear that? They said we could call it so much to talk about.
Hey, Chris, I think we have created a monster here tonight.
All right.
Oh, Ethan, say that.
Let's yap about that.
Oh, there we go. People might actually like look that up. Huh? Chris, let's have it up then.
That would get views.
I love it. That would love it. Well, I mean, we don't get many views on the podcast.
But we would.
You literally just
5 to 10.
You want to put the Orchard on the map? Get us a podcast.
Yeah.
Oh,
All right.
I'm down.
Me too.
You're down. You got this.
It needs to be on YouTube, though, so they can actually see you as well.
I really? Hey, I'm good with that because.
Don't worry, we'll have a TikTok account.
I was going to say, we can create an algorithm that comes on everybody's thing.
All right. So, favorite social media app? Last question.
Oh, I have 2.
All right, go.
TikTok and Snapchat.
Is Snapchat social media?
Yeah.
Yes.
You can still post on.
I'm old. I'm sorry. Facebook.
Facebook.
I like Facebook.
Oh, wait. All right. Kaylee, you got the ears on.
Shut up. I love that sound, actually. No, I like Facebook because the reels I can send to my mom and she knows what I'm talking about.
Wait,
I don't have
you
other
like
friends.
an app because it's accessible to your mom.
Yes.
First they're sour, then they're sweet.
Shut up.
All right, Ryland.
Probably Instagram, just because I love Instagram reels.
Okay.
This one's dangerous to me because I don't. Yeah, it's a dangerous app. I'm not on TikTok or Instagram or anything. I have Snapchat, but I don't use it often. YouTube has been infectious.
Look, I'm here for you.
Eli watches YouTube.
Oh, I like YouTube. I'm with you.
I had so many hours. I'm not going to disclose how many it was, but in 1 week I had so many hours of golf videos on YouTube that I deleted it from my phone.
Who's your favorite YouTube golf?
Okay, come on now. No, you go first.
Me?
Yeah.
I'm on a bus.
How do you watch golf?
I'm between. It's basic, but Bryson DeChambeau
Okay.
and Grant Horvat and Phil Mickelson. I'm there.
Fair enough. All right, Ethan.
I would say YouTube, but if we're talking purely for messaging, iMessages.
iMessage? Okay, look, I'm just going to say.
iMessage, yeah.
You guys missed the greatest social media. It wasn't really an app because it died before apps, but MySpace was for real. Look, I'm going to say, MySpace made you publicly rank your friends in order of top 10.
Oh, wait, can we bring that back?
No. All right, that's it for see you guys later.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Let's Talk About That. We hope it encouraged and challenged you as we continue to grow on this journey of faith and embrace community together. If you have any questions, thoughts, or feedback, we'd love to hear from you. Reach out to us through our social media channels or visit our website to stay connected. Your support is what makes this podcast impactful.
If you found today's discussion meaningful, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, share the episode with a friend, and leave a review. Your engagement helps us spread the message and connect with others who can be encouraged through these conversations. Until next time, we hope this episode inspired you to live out your faith this week. Keep the conversations alive, and remember, we're all on this journey together.